Hi, and welcome to this workshop on Web3 and the Metaverse. This masterclass is brought to you in collaboration with Women in Tech Global Organization and Giga, an initiative by UNICEF and ITU. My name is Amna Usman Chaudhry, and I'm delighted to be going on this journey with you into the exciting field of emerging technologies. We'll be going down the interesting rabbit hole of frontier tech and emerging tech such as NFTs, decentralized finance, DeFi, blockchain, Web3, and the Metaverse. With this workshop and masterclass, we have two purposes. We want to inspire more women to enter the field of tech and emerging technologies. Women's brilliance, women's innovative skills, women's resilience, women's entrepreneurial skills, and women's leadership is very much needed and can significantly enhance the tech sector. So we really hope this masterclass encourages you to go further and enter the world of tech and choose it as a career. The second purpose is to not just give you the knowledge about frontier technologies and emerging technologies, but to help you realize that these are powerful tools which can be used to create a better world. I really believe that frontier tech is a powerful tool that can really create social impact and has the power to change our world for the better. So, for example, technologies such as blockchain, Web3, Metaverse, and more are being used today to bridge the digital divide, to bridge the gender gap, to help with disability inclusion, to help with fight the climate change and help with sustainability, and so much good. So with this masterclass, we hope to inspire you to use your newfound knowledge of these technologies and use them to create a better world for yourselves, for your families, and for everyone around the world. This is going to be an inspiring masterclass, and it's really interesting to learn about all these new technologies and the power that they hold for social impact. So with that, let's get started. So this workshop is brought to you in collaboration with Giga and Women in Tech. Giga is an initiative by UNICEF and ITU that aims to connect every school in the world to the internet by 2030 and every young person to information, opportunity, and choice. Women in Tech is an organization that is spread globally and on a mission to empower 5 million girls and women. So this collaboration came about on Women's Day 2023. So it's a very interesting story. So the theme of Women's Day 2023 was Digit All. So basically that meant innovation and technology for gender equality. In fact, UN Women released a press release on the importance of digital and innovation for enhancing women and reducing the gender gap. So this collaboration is meant to inspire and encourage more women in tech and more women to join also Giga's mission to bridge the digital divide. And of course, I will share more information on these two amazing organizations and the impactful work they are doing in the world later on in the slides. And I am honored to be sharing this masterclass. So I work with the UNICEF blockchain and Web3 team at Giga, and I was very grateful to have won the winner the Global Woman in Web3 Award by Women in Tech organization. So I am excited for this masterclass. We have created this masterclass keeping in mind that women have very, they are very busy and have a lot on their schedule. So we understand you have work, you have family, you have a lot of commitments. So this is meant to be short, impactful, and equip you with the knowledge in a way that will empower you to move forward and embrace tech and overcome the tech barrier. So those are the intentions, and let's move forward. It is really time to close the gender gap in tech. So PwC, this image is courtesy of PwC, said that only 3% of girls consider a career in tech. And that number really needs to rise. Now, there may be a number of factors. For example, tech has traditionally been a male-dominated field, but there is so much research and work done and so much value that women can bring in this field that it is really time for women to join tech and bring their brilliance and leadership skills and innovative skills to the technology world. There are many things that we can do for this. So, for example, we can share our mission of tech. We can share how important it is to have women in tech, because studies have shown, there have been studies done that including women in businesses and in industries can actually positively have a impact industries, and not only on a micro level, for example, empowering the women, empowering the business around them, empowering their families, inspiring other women, but also on a macro level. So the UN Gender Snapshot Report of 2022 said that women exclusion from digital industries actually costs low and middle income countries more than $1 trillion in GDP revenue. And this number is expected to increase to around 1.5 trillion in just 2-3 years by 2025. So having women in tech will positively impact on a micro level as well as a macro level. And we should all do our best to be women in tech, to encourage more women in tech, and to inspire more women to join tech. So we have an exciting journey ahead. The topics in this masterclass that we'll be discussing are frontier technologies, blockchain, decentralized finance or DeFi, NFTs. So I know last year there has been a lot of talk and hype around NFTs, but NFTs have a lot of value beyond the hype. So I'm excited to share that with you. We'll also be talking about Metaverse and all the technologies that are embedded in it, extended reality that encompass it, in extended reality, augmented reality, virtual reality, and of course, Web3. I always like to, whenever I'm giving lectures to my students, etc., always need, specifically in emerging technologies, it is extremely important to highlight that we should always move forward, keeping in mind the importance of diversity, equity, inclusion, safety, and also sustainability. So we'll quickly touch on those very important topics, because these should always be at the forefront of innovation. Of course, I am excited to share about the brilliant stuff that Giga and the brilliant stuff that Women in Tech is doing. So make sure you stay around to hear that. And there would be opportunities for you also to get involved. So that's really exciting. So looking forward to sharing the topics and learning more today. Now, we live in exciting times. Currently, we are in the midst of the fourth industrial revolution. So the first industrial revolution started in the 1780s, roughly in the 1780s, when there was the steam engine advent. And then we had the second industrial revolution with electricity and mass production around 1870s. In around 1969 and 1970, we saw the third industrial revolution with automation. And now we are in the midst of the fourth industrial revolution. And this is really exciting because unlike the previous industrial revolutions, which were moving forward in a linear way, with the fourth industrial revolution, we have seen technology expand and accelerate exponentially. So that's really, really exciting, and there's a lot of potential there. So at the very forefront of the fourth industrial revolution is frontier technologies. So the Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, defines frontier tech as that technology and that is going to reshape industries, communications, and provide solutions to problems that have existed for long times and did not have those solutions before. So frontier tech is a very exciting field, and it is definitely something that can equip you with the tools to make better social impact and create a better world. The United Nations Technology and Innovation Report 2021 said that frontier tech already represents 350 billion market in 2021. And in 2025, that is expected to go up to 3.2 trillion. So like I mentioned, there is exponential growth happening. So exciting times. And to put this into perspective, the current global market for laptops is 102 billion in 2021. And for smartphones, that's 522 billion. So frontier technology is definitely a space you want to watch. So these are the different frontier technologies that we'll be looking into today. We'll be looking into artificial intelligence. I'm sure artificial intelligence has taken on a whole new life since the advent of generative AI and ChatGPT that was released around November 30th, 2022. So now with generative AI, artificial intelligence is in the hands of more people. And that is really exciting. Artificial intelligence is the ability of a computer or a robot to do things that before required human beings. So that traditionally required human intelligence and discernment. And generative AI in particular is very exciting because it can create and generate new content as compared to before, which traditional artificial intelligence could not do. Traditional artificial intelligence, excuse me, previously used to just focus on analyzing the data and predictions, evaluations, and that is why generative AI has been taking the world by storm. We also have Internet of Things, which is a network of physical objects which are fitted with sensors which can take the information from the physical world around us and transmit it to the internet, and similarly take information from the internet and transmit it to the physical world. So that is a very big frontier technology industry as well. Then we have big data. Big data is a collection of data that is so huge in volume and growing exponentially in time. So it's just growing so much, and we have seen, there's been so much overload of data, etc. Blockchain, we will definitely be doing a deep dive into that, so no need to touch that. 5G is the fifth generation of mobile networks with faster speeds and is a very important component of technologies such as Metaverse. 3D printing is the ability to print objects using 3D printers. And that's really exciting. You can actually just, on the internet, you can buy these tools and you can actually do 3D printing at home as well. It's become very accessible. Then you have robotics. I think everyone knows what robotics is, using robots. Drones are also flying robots, which can be controlled by the remote control or controlled by humans. We have gene editing, in which human genes can now be edited. And that is a very exciting field. Nanotechnology is technology that is so minuscule. It's based on the nanometer scale. And solar photovoltaic, it's tricky pronunciation, is the conversion of light into electricity by PV materials and devices. So these are some of the frontier technologies. And now we even have more. So this is from the 2021 UN Technology and Innovation Report. And now in 2023, we have quantum computing coming up. We have so much more stuff happening. It's really, a field that is growing exponentially. And that is exciting because you can learn about more technologies and more tools to create impact. So this is a graph, a pie chart, which shows the impact and the market size of frontier technologies. So as we mentioned before, in 2018, this was just a $350 billion industry. And by 2025, that is going to be 3.2 trillion. And it shows the various different sectors of growth. We can see that IoT is the largest growing frontier technology, and that makes sense because it helps with communication with the internet in the physical world, and it is everywhere. And we have blockchain, we have 5G, robotics is also growing very fast. So it's really, really an exciting field. So now let's get started on what is blockchain. So I'm sure a lot of you must have probably heard the term blockchain. And if you didn't know already what it means, today we're going to learn and do a deep dive in blockchain. So blockchain is a distributed ledger technology. Imagine you have a ledger, and there are people all around the world who have the same kind of ledger. So as soon as you enter information or data into that ledger, almost instantaneously, that data is entered into the ledgers all around the world in the different countries, different cities, etc. So that is a special kind of ledger called distributed ledger technology. And blockchain is a special distributed ledger technology in which data is stored in blocks. And each block is connected to the block behind it using cryptographic hash functions. Now, cryptographic hash function sounds very complicated, but in simple terms, it's very secure code using cryptography, which makes the blockchain very secure. So now you understand that these blocks of data are connected via these cryptographic hash functions, and hence you have a chain of blocks or blockchain. There are many advantages of blockchain. So blockchain is already impacting so many industries because of these advantages. So first of all, blockchain is transparent, which means data on the blockchain can be publicly viewed by anyone. So this is very important in use cases such as customer care, such as charitable giving, and so many more. It creates an extra layer of trust in interactions. You also have decentralization. So there is no central one or few parties that are controlling the blockchain. The blockchain is distributed all around nodes all over the world, so it is very decentralized. That means there is no one person or one party that can come and close it down. It's there always, and it is decentralized. It is also has an element of increased efficiency. So this comes into play using something called smart contracts. Now, smart contracts are special code or contracts. They're basically code which run automatically once certain conditions are met on the blockchain. So that creates efficiency and automation. It gives power back to the people. So previously, even now, we see that there are a few major corporations, organizations, multinationals around the world who are controlling our and everyone's data. And with blockchain, you have the power to control your own data. And then if you want to, you can even monetize it or use it however you want. You have the power, and that's a great advantage of blockchain. It is also very secure, which means it is, we spoke about the cryptographic hash functions. It is very difficult for someone to hack into the blockchain. It is immutable, which means once you put something on the blockchain, it is there forever. You cannot go back and change or edit it. It's there forever, and that really adds a great advantage. It also removes the middleman. So for example, if you want to send money from country A to country B, you have to go to a bank, you have to open an account, you have to deposit money, then you have to wait a few days, it takes time, there's a fee involved. So with blockchain, you don't need to go to a financial intermediary or a bank or anywhere. You can do a transfer of money from, A to B without need of a middleman, and at a fraction of the cost as before. So that is really, really great. There are so many use cases of blockchain. Blockchain is being adopted throughout different industries, ranging from healthcare to education, fintech, and so many, supply chain, because of all the different advantages that we spoke about. So, I can share a few examples of my favorite use cases. There are so many great use cases of blockchain, but I'll just share maybe like 1, 2. So one of the use cases that I really like is storing educational certifications on the blockchain. So this is very useful, specifically when you look at things such as, natural disasters, war, refugee crisis, etc. So, COVID pandemic showed us just how unpredictable life is. And unfortunately, we saw last year a war in Europe, which is something which we couldn't have imagined, but it's a reality, unfortunately. There's so much unrest in countries. There's a huge refugee crisis as well. So what happens is, due to natural disasters, due to war, due to refugee crisis, the people, very well-educated, well-established people, have to leave their things behind and go to another country. And these can be, engineers, doctors, qualified teachers, whatever, they have their education, but because the country is at war or there's a natural disaster or whatever reason, in the new place, you cannot prove that, okay, I'm a financial engineer, I'm an economist, I'm a doctor, because your credentials are lost with that university, with that country, etc. So then the person has to start all over again. And this is really, all their life work, their hard work. It's really unfair. But if you store your education certifications on the blockchain, and that can also, in the future, you can also store your work certifications and work experience, etc., from the employees. But let's focus on education. So if you store your educational certifications on the blockchain, so regardless of what happens in the country where you were working before, or the place where you were working before, in a completely new environment, you can still prove that, look, this is my education, this is my certification, my specialization. And because it was stored on the blockchain, there's an element of trust, and people understand that, yes, you are a doctor, you are an economist, you are an engineer. So that is something that is very, very useful. And it is being done by United Nations as well. So that's a great use case. And I really think that's a brilliant use case of blockchain. Blockchain is also being used extensively in the supply chain industry. So another use case, for example, is, we have all heard of blood diamonds, or diamonds, blood diamonds, which were found or taken in very horrible conditions. And De Beers, diamond organizations that work in this industry, such as De Beers, are using the blockchain to ensure that the diamond that is mined from start to the time it ends up in the final product is traced on the blockchain in the supply chain, to ensure that it is not unethically sourced and it is not a blood diamond. So, for example, De Beers uses the Tracer blockchain for this. And there are a lot of ways that the supply chain industry can benefit from tracing, ensuring authenticity and ethical sourcing of products. So that's a great use case as well. Then you have another use case that's interesting, is tokenization. So with blockchain, you have this new capability to tokenize or break into, smaller tokens an asset. And that's really exciting. So, and you can also use tokenization on the blockchain as an incentive mechanism to encourage more people to do something for good. So, for example, I really like the use case of blockchain to fight plastic pollution. The environment is very important and we need to take care of it. And emerging technologies and frontier technologies such as blockchain give us useful tools to fight, things such as plastic pollution. And Plastic Bank is using blockchain to help reduce plastic pollution. So this is a great use case. They use tokenization to help with incentivizing people who collect plastic trash. And they have collected hundreds and thousands of plastic. And it's a brilliant use case of blockchain. Another exciting upcoming use case is DePIN, or decentralized physical infrastructure networks. So before, traditionally, even now, we see that most of these, networks, for example, 5G networks, etc., are very centralized. And with tokenization and blockchain and decentralization, you have the ability to decentralize physical infrastructure networks. So that will open up a huge opportunity for more decentralization and giving power back to the people. So there are a lot of use cases, and I highly recommend you do some reading on it. It's definitely something that is great to and very interesting to go deeper into. Now, over the past few years, we have started hearing about blockchain layers. So, when blockchain came into being, there was just Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is, something which a lot of people associate blockchain with. But thanks to Bitcoin, we have blockchain. And then, as we've seen, there's so much more to blockchain than Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrency. However, blockchain, there are now many different layers of blockchain, and we'll talk about this. I will say that everyone has their own, interpretation of what the different layers mean, but these are my opinion. There's no one standard that, okay, this is, layer 0 is this or layer 2, but this is mostly what, the different layers imply. So I thought this would be really interesting to share if you're coming into the blockchain world and you hear, okay, this is a layer 2 blockchain, this is a layer 1 blockchain, etc. So these are important topics that I wanted to address. So layer 1 is the base protocol or the main network. So these are blockchain, networks such as Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana. And then the issue is that, there is the issue is something called the blockchain trilemma. So the blockchain trilemma is a term that was initially provided by by the founder of Ethereum, Vitalik Buterin. And you can imagine a triangle. And on one end of the triangle, there's decentralization. On the other end, there's scalability. And the third end, there's security. So what the blockchain trilemma implies is that you can only increase 2 of these 3 important aspects at one time. And when you do, the third option is compromised. So for example, if you focus on decentralization and scalability, you're moving super fast, then the security of the network can be compromised. Similarly, if you're focusing a lot on security and scalability, it might lead to a bit of more centralization. So the decentralization aspect is compromised. So there's always a trade-off between, decentralization, scalability, and security. So to help with that, we have layer 2 blockchains coming up, layer 2 solutions. So for example, for Bitcoin, we have the Bitcoin Lightning Network. For Ethereum, we have Polygon. And there's so many of layer 1s and layer 2s. So layer 3 are basically made of applications that are built upon the blockchain. So you have decentralized apps. Just like you have apps on your phone, you open them. So you have decentralized apps on the blockchain. Examples include these DeFi apps, decentralized finance apps such as Uniswap, Aave, and Compound. And we will look into what DeFi is later in this masterclass as well. One other thing is the lack of interoperability between different chains. So you cannot use a Bitcoin on the Ethereum network or on Solana, etc. So there's a lot of interoperability. And to help with interoperability, you have layer 0, which can help create more interoperability and interaction between the different blockchains. So for that, you have examples such as Polkadot and Cosmos. Now, as I mentioned before, Bitcoin is the technology that we have to thank for blockchain, because it introduced the world to blockchain. And blockchain technology is so much more than Bitcoin and so much more than cryptocurrency. However, because this is something that is most commonly heard of in the blockchain space, and because it is where blockchain started, it's a good idea to quickly go over it. Now, I would like to say that this is all for educational purposes only, and this is not financial advice at all throughout the presentation. So that is a big disclaimer. So Bitcoin was basically introduced by a mysterious person called Satoshi Nakamoto, which we still do not know who that person is today. And it was revealed in a white paper in October of 2008. And it basically uses a proof of work consensus mechanism, in which basically means that, there are people called miners who mine or do the work on the blockchain, validate transactions, and to encourage them to do the work and validate transactions, they are rewarded with Bitcoin. There are a total of, by the way, this is very energy intensive, proof of work. It's a very energy intensive work. And there are blockchains out there which are more environmentally friendly. Now, there are total supply of 21 million Bitcoin. In every 4 years or 210,000 blocks, this reward is cut into half. So every 4 years, the reward is cut into half, and that is called the Bitcoin halving. So when Bitcoin started back in 2008, to do the proof of work, miners would earn 50 Bitcoins per work that they did. So that, has kept on halving. And the last Bitcoin is expected to be mined by 2140. So I think this is just interesting piece of history that everyone should know about. And this is basically, the white paper that was published in October 2008 gave the world an introduction of what is blockchain. And we have seen in just, short amount of time how much blockchain has evolved from just Bitcoin and just cryptocurrency. And I'm sure there are more, innovations ahead. So it's a very exciting time we live in. So now let's talk about DeFi, or decentralized finance. So this is a really exciting field as well, because of the many advantages that, similar to blockchain, that DeFi offers. So first of all, what is DeFi? DeFi is decentralized finance, and basically the financial tools that run on the blockchain without the need of a central authority. And that is done via smart contracts. If you remember, we spoke about smart contracts being programs or code that run automatically once certain conditions are met. So there's so many advantages of DeFi. It's permissionless. You do not need anyone's permission to do a financial transaction. It's trustless. You do not need to trust anyone to lend them money, to borrow money. It is transparent because it is on the blockchain. It is interconnected and decentralized. And basically, it gives power back to the user. So there's an element of self-sovereignty. I really like the use case of DeFi because it provides a lot of, positive use cases and advantages. So let me share some ways in which DeFi is helping out. So first of all, let's look at remittances. So for example, if there's a laborer who's working in the Middle East, for example, in Dubai, and they want to send money back to their home country in, for example, Pakistan. So laborers do not earn a lot of money. And when they send remittances, a large chunk of their money is cut in fees and costs of sending the money back home. For you, maybe that money would not be a lot, but given the wages that these gardeners and laborers and lower class earn, that is a huge amount of money, which can be very usefully used back in their home countries, especially given the exchange rate of certain countries. So with DeFi, you do not need to have a large chunk of money cut when you send remittances back home. And you do not need a financial intermediary. You can just send money via a dApp, and it goes almost instantaneously to the home country. And the transaction costs are a fraction of what they are with traditional finance. So that is really useful in remittances, especially for the poorer classes and the lower classes. Another amazing, way that DeFi is helping is banking the unbanked. There are so many people on the planet who do not have access to banks or financial institutions, and that can be for various reasons. Maybe they're living in a very remote area. Maybe there are no financial institutions that are trustworthy in that area. Or there can be various, maybe they do not meet the minimum banking requirements. There can be so many reasons. But with DeFi, you automatically get access to a whole financial ecosystem, and there's a possibility of banking the unbanked. So, you can lend money, you can borrow money, there's asset management. So there's also a lot of opportunity there. So, for some people, the thought that comes up is how will, people in remote areas, etc., access the DeFi ecosystem. And there was a study done by the Mobile Marketing Association, I believe, a few years back, that when the population of the planet was 6.8 billion, and it's much more now, and so 5.1 billion of the people had a cell phone, and only 4.2 billion had a toothbrush. So people really prioritize having a cell phone, and majority of the people around the world, as we move forward, do have access to cell phones. I do question, the values like over here, but it is what it is. And with cell phones, and the internet, you are connected, just like you have apps on your phone, you're connected to the whole DeFi ecosystem via dApps, and it opens up a whole new way of banking the unbanked. So one other use case worth mentioning on why DeFi is important is that in certain countries, there's a lot of centralized control over your personal assets. So take the case of Argentina. In Argentina, due to hyperinflation, there was a time period when the government locked the foreign assets of the Argentinian people. So because of hyperinflation, what Argentinians used to do was they would, earn their money in Argentinian pesos, and as soon as possible, they would convert it into dollars and go put them in the banks. And one day the government just decided to freeze those accounts. So this is highly unfair. These people worked hard for their money, and they're just trying to do what is logically the best way, to control their assets, and when the asset when the peso is deteriorating so much. And with DeFi, there is no one central authority that can come and get control of your assets or close them down. So there's immense opportunities and potentials of decentralized finance. So in order to understand decentralized finance, this is a really easy diagram. So with traditional financial systems, in order to send money, you have to go to your banks or any other financial institutions. You have to open an account, you have to wait a few days and then pay transaction fees. And finally, the bank sends the money. It takes a lot of time, it takes energy, it costs, there are transaction costs involved as well. But with decentralized finance, all the financial intermediaries are removed from the middle, and it directly connects you peer-to-peer. So you do not need any financial intermediaries to interact with the financial system in DeFi. So it gives power back to the people. Decentralized finance is huge. There's a proper ecosystem, and it's still in development, but it's developing very rapidly, and there's a lot of exciting things happening in the DeFi ecosystem. So, for example, in decentralized finance, you have decentralized exchanges or DEXs, in which you can exchange cryptocurrencies, totally decentralized, everything done on via smart contracts. And these examples include Uniswap, SushiSwap. You have lending and borrowing protocols or platforms such as Aave and Compound, because in DeFi, you do not need a financial intermediary or even need to trust someone in order to lend them money or to borrow money. The smart contracts on the blockchain do all the work for you. So examples of lending and borrowing platforms I mentioned are Aave, Compound. You also have stable coins, which, given the volatility of cryptocurrencies, tend to stabilize the currency via collateralization. And this is something we are going to go deeper into. I think this deserves a bit more attention. So we'll definitely look into it into one of the future slides. You have yield farming platforms in which you have the opportunity to earn, from your crypto assets, you can earn returns as well. And that's really exciting. Then you have so many things: asset tokenization, prediction markets, insurance, derivatives. So it's a whole huge, and as we speak, ever developing ecosystem. So it's really exciting and definitely worth looking into. So as we mentioned, it's worth going deeper into stable coins. So what are stable coins? So we've seen that in blockchains, cryptocurrencies, which are like, for example, Bitcoin, Ethereum, so many altcoins we have right now. All these cryptocurrencies are very volatile. So, there have been literally times when, the cryptocurrency is so high and then the next day it's down, and then a few days later it's high again. It's super volatile. And stable coins are an attempt to decrease the volatility and stabilize them a bit. So this is done by attempting to peg or collateralize or back the coins to an asset. So that can be done in 4 ways. It can be fiat collateralized, and by that it means that for every stable coin, it is backed by a fiat currency, 1-to-1 in most of the times. For example, we have Tether USDT. Then you have the option of stable coins, which are commodity collateralized. So there's so many commodities which you can back up your stable coin with for less volatility. So these can be, for example, oil, real estate, precious metals. So an example can be Tether gold, which is collateralized with gold. You also have crypto collateralized stable coins. And crypto collateralized stable coins are stable coins which are backed with cryptocurrencies. And given the volatile nature of cryptocurrencies, that means they're usually over collateralized. So for 500 stable coins, you can probably collateralize them over 100 crypto coins. So crypto collateralized exists as well. For example, DAI, and then you have those cryptocurrencies. And by the way, the logic behind crypto collateralization is that because they're crypto collateralized and everything is on the blockchain, that makes them more decentralized as compared to other versions of stable coins, which may have a bit more centralization to them. And then you have stable coins which are non-collateralized or collateralized via algorithms. So there's no physical, nothing collateralizing them. They're held, the stability is achieved via algorithmic measures and codes. This is the riskiest, way of the riskiest type of stable coins so far. Maybe in the future they develop new mechanisms, because I do believe in innovation and all the good things that come with it. So maybe a few years down the line there's much more improvement, but at the moment there's a lot of need for improvement in stable coins when it comes to algorithmic backing. For example, last year we saw the episode about Terra Luna. I remember people who have not even heard about stable coins found out about Terra Luna. It was all over the media, and rightfully so. It was a fiasco. So in order to ensure these things don't happen again, there is more work that needs to be done in terms of non-collateralized stable coins. So, all these things have their risks and advantages. So it is always great to do your own research before you attempt buying any cryptocurrency or stable coin. Don't just listen to anyone's opinion. Always do your own research. And on basis of your own research, make your decisions moving forward. So these are some of the top stable coins. I took this screenshot a few months back when I prepared a similar presentation for an exciting class as well. So this is really, really exciting that there's so many, we can see the volume and the market capitalization here. So there are more than, I think, 200 stable coins existing today, more than 200. So this is an evolving really fast, and definitely something of interest. So as an interesting story, the first stable coins were actually from 2014. So you can trace them back to 2014. And they were like Bit USD and NUPITs, and they were not collateralized via fiat, etc. They were crypto collateralized. So stable coins have been here for a while, and they're evolving. And of course, now there's more than 200. And I think in a few years, we will see more maturity in the ecosystem of stable coins. So let's talk about oracles. So we spoke so much about smart contracts and their, how they make the blockchain more efficient and secure and help with automation. So smart contracts are codes which, run automatically once certain conditions are met. But how do they get the information that certain conditions are met? And how do they get the data? So oracles help with that. They help provide the external data to smart contracts and basically act as a bridge between on-chain blockchain data and off-chain data. So there's so many different types of oracles. You have software oracles in which, there's information gathered over the internet or software, and then they're entered into the blockchain and fed into the smart contracts. And then you have hardware oracles where information is sourced via hardwares. You have inbound oracles, which collect information going into the blockchain, and then outbound oracles, which take information from the smart contract into the off-chain world. You have decentralized oracles, which are spread over the blockchain, and there's no one central authority controlling them. So there's a decentralized source of information and input. And you have centralized oracles, which are controlled by a single centralized authority. You have human oracles as well. So humans can also enter data into the blockchain, which can then be used by the smart contracts to make decisions. And you have contract-specific oracles. So these oracles are specifically for certain types of smart contracts, and then they run once these, once they give information on to those smart contracts only. So of course, there are risks involved. I think everything has risks. So a main challenge is if the oracle is compromised, then the smart contract is also compromised. So it's important to keep in mind, that the oracle is secure, and also keep checking and auditing the smart contract so that the smart contract is also secure. Now we're going to talk about DAOs. DAOs are really, really interesting. So they're decentralized autonomous organizations. And you can imagine, like in a traditional organization, maybe where you work or where, any traditional organization, there's usually a hierarchy, right? So you have the president, the CEO, president, then you have directors, managers, and then everyone else. So there's a lot of hierarchy, and usually the decisions of the organization are made at the very top, and then once everything is done, everyone else gets to know about it. So DAOs, on the other hand, are fully democratized. So people who belong to the DAO can participate regardless of, how, there's no hierarchy. So everyone has the right to participate in making decisions for the DAO. And that requires some voting. And because this is on the blockchain, everything is fully transparent. And it's just decentralized. There's no one central authority. So it really puts power back to the people. And this is the future of organizations, where everyone has a say on where the organization goes and the best interests of the organization. So the first DAO was actually the Genesis DAO, which is now just called the DAO, which was launched in May 2016 on the Ethereum network. And this is an very interesting story. It's like a part of history. So what happened was that, it was, very well received, and it was crowdfunded. It was crowdfunded by the biggest crowdfunded DAO. There was around 12.7 million ETH. fundraised, crowdsourced into it, crowdfunded, and which you can, calculate into fiat. It's a lot of money. I think it was 250 million USD at the time. And it was built, by open source. It was open source, but it was built by one of the country's companies called Slockit. And what happened was that, the intention was good, everything was going great, but the smart contract were not properly audited or double checked. And hackers found vulnerabilities in the smart contract, and that vulnerability was exploited. So in June 2016, I think they raised the money in May, and in June 26th, this Genesis DAO, the DAO, was hacked, and 1/3 of the DAO funds were just taken away, stolen. And of course, in order to save it, this eventually led to the hard fork of the Ethereum network, and it was huge. Like, it was a big deal. And I'm sharing this story because, when we talk about blockchain, DeFi, when we talk about DAOs, and everything related to blockchain in particular, it's very important that you have proper auditing done of smart contracts and the code of the blockchain. So with proper auditing, things like this can be protected in the future, because usually, when there's DeFi hacks, etc., it is only because of the vulnerabilities that are found in the smart contracts. So it's really important to kind of take that into account. Apart from that, DAOs are really, really interesting, and there's so many of them now. I think Ethereum network is the one with the most DAOs. As of 2022, end of 2022, there were 4,200 DAOs on Ethereum network, the Ethereum blockchain, 140 on Solana. There were around 10 on Cardano and 8 on Polkadot. So it is also, evolving super, super fast. So keep an eye on DAOs. Very, very interesting. So now let's talk about NFTs, or non-fungible tokens. Non-fungible tokens or NFTs are one-of-a-kind, unique cryptographic tokens that exist on the blockchain. And they have been, taking the past few years, they have been in the media a lot, taking the world by storm. Because they are, digital technology, tokens that exist on the blockchain and one of a kind, they're a whole new token and asset class that gives so much perspective into digital ownership. So it has rewritten the rules of digital ownership. So if you have an NFT, it provides new information on digital tokenship that exists on the blockchain. And it also has a lot of use cases. For example, it has revolutionized royalties. So with NFTs, if you create art, for example, you can continue to have royalties for the creators every time that NFT art is sold. So this is really something that's exciting. And because it's one of a kind, it means that there's a reduction in the probability of fraud or counterfeit. There are so many NFT marketplaces now, and there's a lot of different NFTs, different utilities of NFTs. So let's look into the marketplaces where you can buy NFTs, you can create your own NFTs and list them there, mint them there. You can, so some on Ethereum network. The top NFT marketplace right now is OpenSea. On Solana, some of the top marketplaces are Magic Eden. On Flow blockchain, where a lot of the sports NFTs are placed, you can find an NBA Top Shot, for example. And I highly encourage you, we've been talking so much about all these different emerging technologies, to not just listen, but as you go through these different concepts, try to see if you can implement and use them practically. So for example, set up a crypto wallet on the blockchain, because in order to interact with the blockchain, you need a crypto wallet, and it's very simple. Just do your own research on what is the best crypto wallet for you, because everything has their pros and cons. There's some great crypto wallets out there. There's MetaMask, Ledger, Trust, so many, but it's important you do your own research. And then once you are happy with that, set up a crypto wallet. It's fairly simple. And using that, you can interact on the blockchain. You can buy NFTs. You can, we've seen with generative AI, there's so many use cases. You can maybe generate an NFT, or maybe if you're an artist, you can create your own NFT. So make sure you don't just, listen and learn that way, but try to implement what you're learning practically as well. And that's where all the fun begins. So definitely encourage you to do that. Now, there's some key terms, NFT terms, that we need to, that will come into when you talk about NFTs. You'll hear them a lot. One is non-fungibility. So fungibility means that if I have something, a token, it can be easily exchanged between, different people, and it doesn't matter if I have a fungible token or they, and we exchange it, because as long as we have one, the value remains the same. But non-fungibility means that it is unique and irreplaceable. So it's one of a kind, it's irreplaceable, and that is what basically fungibility means. So when you're talking about NFTs, you'll also hear about minting. So minting basically means that you take your artwork or whatever, and then you publish your token on the blockchain, and that means that you mint your NFT, and now it's on the blockchain for you to sell, or make it purchasable, trade, etc. Now, because NFTs are on the, and tokens in general are on the blockchain, it means they're there forever. So they can't be deleted. So in order to get rid of that, you need to kind of have something called token burn. And that doesn't, imply that you burn the token. It just means that you take the token and send it to a wallet address that is not accessible. And that means that it is, because it's not accessible, it's removed from circulation on the blockchain, and that token is burned. So these are some of the key NFT terms. So NFTs are, in 2023, we've seen maybe there's not as much talk about NFTs as there was in 2021, 2022, but it is still growing quite fast. So Juniper Research is, a research firm, and they did this very interesting study on NFTs, and they found that NFT transactions in 2022 were basically averaging around 24 million. And that number is expected to increase by 2027 to 40 million NFT transactions. So there is definitely growth happening in this area. And the interesting part is that the growth of NFTs, the fastest growing NFTs, are those that are linked to the metaverse. So, for example, in 2022, it was 600,000, and now in 2027, that number will increase to 9.8 million. So there's immense growth happening, and that's really, something to keep an eye on. There are so many use cases of NFTs. I think when we started with NFTs, it was mostly, everyone equated it with art. So there is so much more to NFTs than art. Of course, art remains an important element of NFTs, so that's always there. You also have, virtual estate or estate on, for example, the metaverse. There are actually cities being built in the metaverse, and these, the tokens can be tokenized as NFTs. So an example of virtual estate is Dubaiverse that is being built in the Sandbox Metaverse. Then you also have, since we're talking about the metaverse, in the metaverse, you have an avatar, which is a digital representation of you in the metaverse. And that avatar, you want it to look look its best because it's representing you. You want it to look like you and represent your, your personality in the metaverse. So avatar clothing, avatar accessories, etc. These are huge, use cases of NFTs in the fashion world and specifically on the metaverse as well. Then you have, gaming industry. There's so many NFTs in the gaming industry where you can, you can get NFTs as pets, as collectibles, and there's a lot of NFTs in the gaming industry. There's also in ticketing, so in sports as a whole as well. So sports can be used, you can have NFTs for merch, for tickets, for so many different use cases. So that's really interesting. And you can have NFTs as identity verification, medical records, voting, digital twins. There are the huge opportunity of digital twins, which we'll look into as we discuss the metaverse. So there are so many use cases of NFTs. So since we're talking about NFTs, I think it's worth sharing the NFTs that Giga is working in. So, or Giga has experience in. So one of those are the Patchwork Kingdom NFTs. So Patchwork Kingdom are a set of 1,000 NFTs that were released to commemorate UNICEF's 75th anniversary. And they, were made by artist Nadi Bremer, whose picture is shown there, using real data collected from 283,000 schools from UNICEF's Project Connect. And using this data, artist Nadi Bremer, using algorithms, generated 1,000 Patchwork Kingdoms. So each Patchwork Kingdom tells a story of inequality. So you can see that the Patchwork Kingdom, here's a picture of a Patchwork Kingdom. The upper side shows all the schools that are connected, and the lower side shows all the schools that are still not connected. So there's, you can see the inequality that exists between in each NFT, excuse me. And you can also see the inequality that exists between the different NFTs. And these NFTs are a reminder that it is unfair, there's so much inequality, and that every school needs to be connected to the internet, and every young person has the right to have information, opportunity, and choice. And these Patchwork Kingdoms are available on OpenSea as well. Now Giga is working on NFT2, which is a revolutionary concept. So NFT2 aims to be the largest open source, decentralized database of every school in the world. So it can be likened to a Wikipedia page for every school in the world. So when Giga is doing its mission of school connectivity, it needs a lot of information, such as whether the school is a primary school, is a high school, is a middle school, how many students are there, whether there's internet connectivity in the school, whether there's electricity in the school, etc. So when you have all this information, it makes Giga's mission of universal school connectivity so much easier. And that is where the concept of NFT2 was born. So keep an eye on that. There would definitely be an opportunity for everyone to get involved, and that's really exciting. Now let's get started about the metaverse. So metaverse also took a lot of attention last year. I think, the beginning of 2022, the economists said that 2022 would be the year of the metaverse. So I'm sure you must have come across the term and hopefully experienced it as well. So it's a very exciting tech. So there's no one definition of the metaverse because it's evolving so fast and so quickly. So it's difficult to compartmentalize it in one definition. But these are the different elements of a metaverse as per Gartner. So a metaverse usually has its own digital currency. So it can be, a digital currency for the metaverse platform. There can be cryptocurrencies as well if the metaverse is built on the blockchain, is Web3 based. There's also, because of the digital currency and the creator economy, there's NFTs involved, whether that's in the form of avatar clothes, virtual estate that we discussed, and so much more. So there is an element of a whole creator economy in the metaverse. So there's a marketplace as well. Gaming is a huge aspect of the metaverse. In fact, one of the shorter term, if you look at it, the most growth of the metaverse is happening in gaming metaverses such as the Roblox, and there's digital assets involved as well in the metaverse. So these assets can be various sorts, NFTs or different assets, virtual estate. So there are assets involved in the metaverse. There's digital humans, which are the avatars, because there is interaction between different people. So it can be likened to a social media as well. Certain metaverses can play that sort of social media experience as well. There's a workplace there. If you want to do work in the metaverse, it can have an element of workplace. In fact, a lot of we heard about so many banks setting up virtual offices, and there's in the workplace, and workplace having offices, and meetings in the metaverse as compared to other Web2 alternatives or traditional alternatives like online meeting. We saw in the pandemic how difficult it was. So if you have these meetings in the metaverse, it is so much more interactive, so much more immersive. It's as if you're already there. So it just makes it a much better experience. And some countries like, Dubai, UAE, they have developed a metaverse. The government has developed a metaverse in which you can actually sign legally binding contracts. So that makes, the whole aspect of, meeting for work and signing contracts so much more easier. And there's it helps with carbon emissions and sustainability aspect as well. So that's actually a very useful use case of the metaverse, because in some businesses and work professions, you have to travel a lot for business, and with the option of meeting in an immersive environment like the metaverse, where you can sign legally binding contracts, that need for excessive work travel is decreased, leading to decreased carbon emissions and ease in mental health as well. So that's definitely there. There's also the online shopping experience. So you can go check out clothes for your avatars, or you can, using augmented reality, check clothes for yourself as well, or even, virtual reality. You can you can see how clothes look. And there's, there are malls being built in the metaverse. So it's very exciting. And of course, there's a lot of concerts, entertainment, events happening in the metaverse, a lot of social interaction. When you have a physical platform for concerts, for example, so you are limited by space, but in the metaverse, you are not limited by space. So it just, it creates so much opportunity for people from all over the world, regardless of, the country, to join the experience and really brings it to life. So that's really exciting. And other really interesting use case or element of the metaverse is education as well. So metaverse really has a lot of potential in, education and interacting and cooperating with people from all over the world, which leads to decrease in, for example, racism. For example, you become more acceptive of the different people, because different countries, different people, they have their own beautiful uniqueness. So you become more accepting of that. So that's really exciting as well. It leads to a huge opportunity for better global cooperation. So this is, an infographic diagram by BCG, which basically looks at, the different aspects of the metaverse. There's a virtual reality aspect, which is persistent. There's a lot of social interaction between the different use cases of the metaverse. So that is really interesting. And there's, of course, because you have your digital currencies, you have NFTs, you have a whole creator economy. So there's virtual goods as well that you can own, you can make, you can trade. In Roblox, we've been reading about how people, kids, young teens, and even younger, make, the dresses for the avatars, the skins for the avatars, and they can sell them and they're making money. So it really has a whole new creator economy opened up. So when you're talking about the metaverse, you may hear the term extended reality, and these are the different technologies which encompass the metaverse. So for example, you have virtual reality, which is the most common use case, in which you put up a headset and you're totally immersed in an experience, and it is really immersive. Like, you need to try it out. It's super immersive, and it really shuts out the real world. But at the same time, you also have augmented reality, in which, while your phone or device, you can see digital content on top of the real world. So that's super interesting. And then you have a mix of those both. Extended mixed reality, which has aspects of augmented reality and virtual reality to interact with the real world. So these are the technologies that encompass the metaverse, and we will see in the future that the lines between the physical and the digital worlds become more and more blurry. So this is the metaverse framework. It can be, broadly divided into 7 layers of the metaverse, starting with the infrastructure. You do need a good connection, 5G, 6G, cloud, etc., for ease of interaction in the metaverse. You need a very easy interface as well. And it doesn't have to be, an Oculus or whatever, like smart glasses or headgear or wearables. Do you know that you can interact with the metaverse, with certain metaverses, without needing all this gear? So there is a bit of a misconception that in order to interact with metaverse, you need special type of gear. But there are certain metaverses, for example, Web 2 metaverses such as Roblox and Spatial, that you can interact with via your computer, via your desktop, via iPad, whatever. So I highly encourage, make an avatar, go check out one of these metaverses on the computer desktop and just get a feel of what it is, and you'll really enjoy it. And then when you get an opportunity, you can try. Definitely encourage you to try it via more immersive virtual reality and augmented reality, and it mixed, overall extended reality way as well. There can be an element of decentralization when we involve the blockchain. So, we've been learning so much about different aspects of blockchain. So that can be there as well, but it doesn't have to be decentralized. There are a lot of centralized metaverses as well. So metaverse can be centralized, it can be decentralized as well. There's spatial computing, with the extent geospatial mapping. You have a creator economy, design tools, assets, discovery of there's aspect of discovering the metaverse, so more people can interact with it via social ads, etc. And then there's the various experiences that are built on the metaverse, such as gaming, social experience, education, and so on. There are a lot of metaverses. So, like I said, there's no one definition of the metaverse, but it can broadly say, like, you have an internet, you have one internet, and you have all these different websites on which you can go to the different, engage on the internet. Similarly, there is one metaverse, and then you have these different metaverse platforms in which you can engage with. So there's so many different metaverse platforms, such as, Roblox, Decentraland, Sandbox, Spatial, Second Life. And the metaverse economy is predicted to be huge. So according to a Citi report, metaverse will reach 13 trillion market, $13 trillion market by 2030, made up of 5 billion users. So we can expect a lot of growth there. And there's been a lot of investment being done in the metaverse in the past year and more. Now let's talk about Web3. So Web3 is really exciting. In this image, we can see the 3 iterations of the internet. You have Web 1, Web 2, and Web 3. So Web 1, Tim Berners-Lee set up the first web server in 1990 and created the World Wide Web. So that was Web 1. And that was so great at that time. It was revolutionary at that time, but it was read-only. Like, you could just, read the information. With Web 2, you could not just read the information, but you can consume and generate it as well. So we saw, the advent of social media and all these different social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and more. And that led to so many, creator economy as well, where we saw so many creators creating the content. But the problem there was that, and the problem still there is, that it's very centralized. So all these, creators are doing the money and are doing the work, and majority of the money is being, taken by some majority of the centralized organizations controlling these social medias. And that is very unfair. So with Web3, you have the opportunity to, own your own data, not just read, generate, create, but own your own data and monetize it if need be. So in Web 2, there was we've heard of all those scandals also about certain big companies who, collected data of the users and then got into trouble. But with Web3, you own your data and you can utilize and monetize it as well. And Web3 would be decentralized, there's no controlling authority, and it will use technologies such as blockchain, AI, 5G, and there are elements of metaverse as well. So immersive content as well, such as extended reality things we talk about. So that is why we did so much deep dive into blockchain and concepts such as decentralized finance, DeFi, NFTs, DAOs, and more, because these are going to be really important concepts overall in the Web3 space. So how will Web3 change our lives? It will really, really impact our lives and make it more better. So it will be the next generation of the internet, and it will be so much more immersive. It will be so much more personalized. It will be so much more secure and private and decentralized as well. So, you will have, for example, the option of, personalized browsing using AI. You will have machine learning algorithms, which will make your, the whole interaction with the web so much easier. You will have more access. There will be so much more personalization and in-depth search because of all the different technologies that encompass Web3. And it will overall be more private, secure, and you will be in control of your own data. So it is really going to put the power back into the hands of the people, which is why everyone is, so excited about it. Now, when we talk about immersive technologies and frontier technologies, I think it is extremely important to move forward whenever we're dealing with, these fast evolving technologies or any technologies, but especially these frontier technologies, which are evolving super fast, to keep an eye on the importance of diversity, equity, inclusion, and sustainability. So for example, when we're talking about Metaverse, we need to make sure that avatar creation can be fully representative of all the people who want to interact with the Metaverse. So, if I want to, if there should be option of different skin tones, different hair colors, everything, it should be fully representative. And it should have the option of whether I want to, look like exactly like I am on the Metaverse or whether I do not. It needs to be, it doesn't need to, avatars don't really need to look like the human. But because you have, it's a way to represent with how you interact with others in the Metaverse, it should be fully representative. All these options should be available. And all these technologies and dApps and, different platforms, initiatives that you develop and interact with, there should be proactive ways to ensure that these are diverse, inclusive, and equitable for all. So for example, there's so many existing biases in the world. Like if we look at the gender bias alone, so a study, by the Gender Social Norms Index by the UNDP, United Nations Development Fund, says that 90% of men and women hold some sort of bias against women. So this is extremely unfair, and most of these biases are subconscious, so you do not have them consciously. So that is why it's always important to have these topics at the forefront. So when you're creating new tech or working in frontier tech or working in anything, you ensure that you do not bring these existing biases into the new tech. And there's an immense opportunity for brands to lead the way by how they interact with the Metaverse, how they interact with all these emerging technologies, and lead by example. And this will help, create communities around the brand. So there's a lot of potential there as well. On a personal level, always do your own research when you're looking into things, online, in Web3, Metaverse, and beware of trolls, because there are negative people everywhere. So you want to, just be wary of them, and don't believe everything you see online. Don't click on, random links. Keep track of your mental health as well. Sometimes these things can be so entertaining that you spend too much time. So make sure you keep in mind screen time and the importance of taking care of your mental health. And also when you're, working in these tech, make choices that keep in mind the importance of the environment and sustainability. So, we've all seen the dangers of climate change. So it's very important that you make choices which are responsible. For example, when we look at blockchain, there are blockchains that are very that have a lot of environmental costs. And there are blockchains which are very environmentally friendly. So it's important that you move forward, in ways that are environmentally friendly and keep sustainability as well at the forefront. Now I would like to share with you some information about the brilliant organizations who brought this workshop to you. So one of them is Women in Tech. Women in Tech is an amazing organization that is creating so much social impact in the world. Women in Tech is an organization that is on a mission to empower 5 million girls and women. And they are doing a brilliant job. They are the world's leading organization for inclusion, diversity, and equity in STEAM. Women in Tech is a global organization that has more than 200,000 members in 6 continents. And they basically create impact through action to build skills, confidence, setting women and girls for success. There are 4 primary areas that Women in Tech focus on: education, business, social inclusion, and advocacy. So Women in Tech is globally working to enhance, on a mission to empower 5 million girls and women by 2030. They're in line with the UN SDGs, or the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, to transform the world for better by 2030. So their goal 5 in particular is the main focus to achieve gender equality and empower women and girls. The Women in Tech organization fully supports the UN SDGs by contributing to 5 of the 17 UN SDGs. So UN SDG 4, quality education. UN SDG 5, achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls. Tech field is definitely one of the targets there. UN SDG 8, promote sustained, inclusive, and sustainable economic growth, full and productive employment, and decent work for all. UN SDG 9, industry, innovation, infrastructure. UN SDG 10, reduced inequalities. Now, Women in Tech is really making a lot of impact. I highly encourage you to follow them on social media. I'm sure you will find a chapter, a Women in Tech chapter, possibly in your country or in a neighboring country. And if they have a huge presence and they're holding events. So there's a lot of opportunities to get involved along with their mission. So do check them out. I'm going to share a video which shows all the impact much more vividly of the great stuff that they're doing. So sharing the video now.
Women are tech's most untapped resource. Not only is creating diverse teams ethical and will drive more economic growth, but future-proofing the job opportunities of women will ensure sustainable communities worldwide. Women in Tech is committed to actively promoting girls' and women's empowerment in STEM. We are present in 6 continents with thousands of members. Our power as a global movement is demonstrated by working magic every day. We create impact through action to build skills and confidence, setting women up for success.
That was amazing. Wow. And now I'm going to tell you about Giga. Giga is also a brilliant initiative. It's an initiative by UNICEF and ITU that aims to connect every school in the world to the internet by 2030 and every young person to information, opportunity, and choice. So as you can see here, this is a map of Brazil. Each dot here is a school, and each red dot is a school that is not connected, and each green dot is a school that is connected. So you can see that within this image, this map of Brazil, there is so much inequality and divide in connectivity. Similarly, this divide doesn't just exist in countries, but also between countries. 2.9 billion people on the planet do not have access to the internet, 1.3 billion of whom are children. That is unacceptable because in an increasingly digital world, it is important that schools have connectivity and children have the opportunity to learn and realize their dreams. So that is the goal and mission that Giga is on, and Giga is using emerging tech such as blockchain and Web3 to enhance and speed up accelerate its mission of universal school connectivity. Giga has a lot of partners that are helping in its mission. So Giga's these are, a few of the partners that are helping Giga with its mission, because such big goals can only be achieved together. I'm going to show you in a video now, which better shows all the great work that Giga is doing. And let's see the video now. That brings us to the end of this masterclass. We hope you enjoyed this, workshop, and that it inspired you to take the next steps into a career in tech, and also inspired you to come into the world of social impact and use technology as a tool for good. Thank you so much. If you liked all the things that all the impact that Women in Tech and Giga are making, Please do follow us on social media. These are the Twitter handles. I also share a lot of stuff on my LinkedIn particularly. So with regards to Web3 and frontier tech, so you're welcome to follow me as well. Always great connecting with everyone. So we wish you the best on your journey in tech. And thank you again for joining us.